I'm Mark Halperin. Welcome to this week's Focus Group. We talk a lot here and in the media about divisions between Democrats and Republicans in this country. But lately, there's been a fair amount of focus of divisions within the two parties. And we're going to start our show today talking about that. A big survey out this week looked at the differences within the parties, different tribal groups within Republicans and Democrats. So let's bring in our group now. 4 people who voted for Donald Trump in the last election, 4 who voted for Joe Biden. Welcome to you, one and all. I want to ask you all a question about this question of divisions within the Democratic Party. Who do you think more accurately represents the views, the policy views, and kind of the attitudes of the Democratic Party in the country, not in Washington, but in the country? 2 choices, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia or Congresswoman who's known as AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So raise your hand if you think AOC is more representative of where Democrats around the country are. Raise your hand. Okay, and raise your hand if you think Joe Manchin more represents where the Democratic Party is. All right, now I see 8 votes for that. Nayela, were you not voting because you don't have a view, or you think it's a tie?
I think it depends, right? I think that AOC definitely has her core constituency within the Democratic Party, but as does clearly Manchin in the more moderate part of the party. I think this depends on region of the country as well as generation. As a Democrat who has lived in Texas, who is now in New York, but hails from Georgia, that's a very different type of Democrat and a very different type of Democratic candidate that would win. AOC could not win in Georgia. AOC could not win in Texas, but a Manchin could. So I think it really just depends on generation and region of the country in terms of the Democratic philosophy.
Now that there's been that downfall of our economy and basically all of Biden's failings, do you think that her base will drop off a little more now?
I think the AOC's base really comes from an ideology of the big vision of what society can be and government's role in making that happen, more so in pragmatic policy problem-oriented solutions.
Welcome back. We're talking now as we close the program about President Biden's agenda and how people think he's doing. Nayela, how do you think President Biden's doing on dealing with the thorny problem of inflation?
I'm not impressed. I don't feel confident, but I also understand that it's a difficult reality, economic reality that, presidents have to deal with cyclically. But it is a huge concern of mine, as I'm sure of all Americans, particularly as we're trying to, come out of an economy that was disrupted a lot by the COVID pandemic as well.
I want to talk about education. It is a big issue around the country, always has been. And although most of education policy is made at the state and local level, it certainly gets discussed a lot at the national level. The two parties often arguing about education, and it's become a big issue. Nayela, what would you say is the best about our K-12 system in public schools?
One of the best things about our K-12 public education system is that it's an opportunity for students, regardless of where they live, to have access and opportunity. If it's done right, if the schools are financed, if you have good teachers, teaching the students an opportunity, again, to learn important life skills and to develop and grow into productive citizens one day.
Let's talk about space. It has become the hobby of billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk to try to shoot off into the outer reaches of the planet Earth. Nayela, why aren't you super psyched about billionaires in space?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I think it's great in terms of going back to our public education discussion for STEM, for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which American has been lagging in. So hopefully, if there are little kids watching out there, it's an inspiration to them. I am disheartened that the private sector billionaires are spending so much money. As a Democrat, I like to see social services, nonprofits, charities funded, and it's just a disappointment that there's such an interest in personal endeavors to go out to space.
Raise your hand if you've got Amazon Prime. All right, so that is all of you but 2. Nayela, tell me why you don't have it.
It's a matter of convenience, but for me, I prefer to invest in ITSE, although it might take a couple of days more. My preference is to spend my personal financial capital in smaller businesses whenever I can.
Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you again next weekend right here on Newsmax TV.